briefs. These same groups pour money into lobbying campaigns in order to support of the justices they want on the bench. The bill simply requires parties and amicus filers to disclose their financial connections to the justices, and it also requires amicus filers to disclose their major funders. This makes eminent sense so that the people of the United States can know who, in fact, is funding the amicus briefs and the viewpoints advanced in front of the Supreme Court.
Will the chairman yield?
No, I will not yield. In addition to which, I should like to say on a separate question that's been raised, and that is about the Republican and Democratic parties, though I don't think this is really terribly relevant to the amendment. But the fact is, it was stated by people on both sides of the aisle about the identity of the Republican and Democratic parties. Now, the fact is, the Democratic Party changed. The racist Democratic Party of the 19th century and of the early 20th century changed because of the Civil Rights Act. When the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1965, the racist Democrats reacted against that, and because Senator Goldwater opposed the Civil Rights Act, the racist Democrats became Republicans. And you can see this in the careers of people like Strom Thurmond, who began as a Democrat and ended up as a Republican, and George Wallace, the same. And the fact is that the parties changed. So Abraham Lincoln, were he alive today, would be a Democrat because the Republican Party, which started out as an anti-racist, anti-slavery party,
that's crazy,
it changed also. And today, the people who take the anti-racist view are known as Democrats. So that's just a history lesson. It's not of great importance to the worth of the amendment, but I thought I had to correct the history. And the amendment ought to be opposed because it is destructive of the purpose of the bill, which is salutary, which is to enable people to know who is funding amicus briefs and who is funding amicus briefs, on whose behalf they're filed, who are the real parties and interests. And I yield back.
Mr. Chairman.
Who else seeks? Does anyone else seek recognition?
Yes. Yes.
What purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition?
To rebut some of the crazy things you just said.
Gentlemen, strike the last word.
I do. Strike the last word.
Gentleman's recognized.
The Democrat Party sure has changed, because the Democrat Party used to believe in the First Amendment and free speech. That's the big change. I mean, think about it. Disclose your donors so we can dox them. Disclose your donors so we can cancel them. Disclose your donors, your contributors, so we can protest at their homes. That's what everyone knows what this is about, because we're watching it unfold as we speak. There are people at Supreme Court Justice homes protesting as we speak. Barry Weiss had a great term. Barry Weiss, not on the right, actually center left, resigned from the New York Times because she said, if you engage in wrong speak, wrong think today, the mob, the cancel culture mob will come after you. And she used a great term. She said, you will face the digital Thunderdome. That's what this amendment's about. Putting people in the Thunderdome so all the left can go after them, intimidate them. This is all of, Mr. Johnson was right. This is about intimidation. This is about chilling free speech. And it's so consistent with what we've seen from the left over the last year and a half. Just a few months ago, we sat in this room, actually it was across the way, with the Attorney General, and we found out they were targeting parents. We just sent a letter to Mr. Garland today. We had a whistleblower come forward. Over 24 cases where they have targeted moms and dads. And now you file an amicus brief, and there's some people who supported that effort. The left's going to get a hold of their names. They're going to be at their homes protesting. They're going to do exactly what the IRS did 10 years ago to conservative groups. The IRS was sending out letters to conservative groups. Do you pray at your meeting? Who are your supporters? Do you have a pastor? I mean, this is craziness. I mean, think about in 2 weeks what we've seen from the left. In just 2 weeks, this is a scary 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we learned there's a disinformation governance board formed at the Department of Homeland Security, run by Nina Jankowicz, who has all kinds of crazy ideas. Last week, there's a leak at the Supreme Court of a draft opinion, and protesters are at people's homes. And today we have a bill that says, disclose your donors. This is as scary as the gentleman from North Carolina is right on target. It is a great amendment. We should, at a minimum, adopt this to safeguard where the Democrat Party used to be, which was in support of the First Amendment, not chilling free speech, but embracing the First Amendment free speech. And I'll yield to the gentleman from North Carolina and to California.
I thank the gentleman. And, it's interesting. The chairman has attempted to do this fiction about the party switching places. But again, what we've got here avoids all that because you're doing the same things.
Yep.
You did it in 1958 to the NAACP. You did it last year in California to people who are contributing to charities there. The Supreme Court both times said you are steamrolling people's First Amendment right of association. Can't do it.
The gentleman from New York, Mr. Durham, can you pull that microphone real close so everyone can hear what you say? We appreciate that. Gentleman from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Durham, your report reads like a defense of the Trump campaign and an attack on Hillary Clinton because that's exactly what it is. Donald Trump wanted you to investigate the investigators to show the deep state conspiracy, but you never found one. Instead, you gave him and his MAGA Republicans the next best thing, someone else to blame for Donald Trump's problems. That's why you're here today, because the chairman and his colleagues need someone, anyone, to deflect from the mounting evidence of Trump's misconduct. Let me remind you that Donald Trump was federally indicted on 37 counts for mishandling classified information. 37 counts. That's why you're here today, not because of anything that happened in 2016. Ms. Durham, your investigation cost more than $6.5 million, involved the work of dozens of FBI employees and federal prosecutors, some of whom resigned in protest, and took roughly 4 years to complete. Is that correct?
No.
It's not correct.
No, I mean, there were multiple parts of that.
Did it take 4 years to complete?
Correct.
Okay. And with all these resources and all these people you were sent to help you investigate the investigators, you only filed 3 criminal cases. You only brought 2 cases to trial, correct?
Correct.
And you lost all the cases you brought to trial, correct?
Correct.
In fact, 2 juries acquitted your defendants on all charges. And the one conviction that you obtained, the defendant pleaded guilty to a single count and never went to trial, correct?
Correct.
I will note that in that case, the primary investigative steps were all completed by Inspector General Horowitz. Perhaps you were better when it came to your report. From my reading, your report did not make any specific concrete recommendations to improve DOJ or FBI policies or procedures. In fact, your report repeatedly references the recommendations made by Inspector General Horowitz, almost all of which DOJ and FBI have already implemented. Again, your investigation lasted 4 years. 4 years and untold sums of money, and you still obtained only 1 conviction. You did produce a 300-page report, though, and that's given my Republican counterparts plenty of material to spin. Mr. Durham, George Papadopoulos was a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign in spring 2016. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And in May 2016, he told an Australian diplomat that the Trump team had received some kind of suggestion from Russia that it could assist this process with the anonymous release of information during the campaign that would be damaging to Secretary Clinton. This is a fact that came out during the Mueller investigation, and your investigation found nothing to dispute this fact, correct?
There's more detail to that in the report.
Did it find anything to dispute this report, to dispute this fact?
No.
Okay. On page 50 of your report, you wrote that on July 28, 2016, FBI headquarters received the Australian information that formed the basis for the opening of Crossfire Hurricane, correct?
Correct.
So this fantasy that some MAGA Republicans have created, where the investigation was started for any reason other than a Trump campaign operative bragging to Australian intelligence assets about Russian dirt that would damage Hillary Clinton, is not true. And when the FBI received that information, according to your report, it had not just the predication to investigate. There is no question, you wrote, that the FBI had an affirmative obligation to closely examine the Australian information. Isn't that right?
The FBI had an obligation to examine.
So that's correct. So the origin of the investigation was not the Steele dossier. It was not Alpha Bank. It was a Trump aide's loose lips about his campaign's advanced view into a hack that had a profound effect on the 2016 election. That information supplied by the Australian government gave the FBI predication to begin an investigation. I'd like to discuss one more false conclusion about your report that's made its way into the MAGA Republican talking points. Some of my colleagues across the aisle have started calling this the, quote, Russia hoax. It's the theory that Russia did not actually interfere in the 2016 presidential election. That is patently false. In 2017, during the Trump administration, the Director of National Intelligence declassified a report on Russian activity in the 2016 election. You're aware of this report, correct?
Correct.
And in this report, the intelligence community found that, quote, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election. Russia's goals were to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm her electability and potential presidency. We further assess Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump, close quote. You did not dispute that Trump ordered an influence campaign to influence the 2016 election in your report, did you?
As I said, there was a real
Yes or no?
Russian threat.
No, okay. Special Counsel Mueller indicted 12 Russian intelligence officers in July 2018, isn't that right?
Correct.
The 12 intelligence officers were indicted for attacking the Clinton campaign. On page 55 of your report, you acknowledge that at a press conference in 2016, Donald Trump on camera said, Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And 2 years later at the Helsinki summit, Trump told the press that he believed Russian President Putin over his own intelligence officials when he told them Russia did not interfere during the 2016 election season. I see my time has expired. I yield back.
Gentlemen, the witness can respond if he chooses to. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina, New York. Ranking member, Mr. Nadler is recognized.
I thank the chairman for yielding. Mr. Dunn, again, I want to express my sincerest condolences to you and your family, and I want to thank you for being here today. Judge Samaniego, I want to turn to you. Thank you so much for coming today. Having a witness who has grown up and lived on the border is so imperative. Your knowledge and lived experience are invaluable for policymakers here in Washington. Unfortunately, the Republican majority seems interested only in showboating. They continuously talk about a so-called Biden border crisis, even though this administration has actually kept in place numerous policies from the Trump administration that many of my colleagues and I have expressed concerns about. Judge Samaniego, in your testimony, you note safety and compassion are not mutually exclusive. I think this is a very important point. As Republican Representative Tony Gonzalez stated over the weekend, border security and immigration are two separate topics. One can be for a strong border security presence that prevents terrorists, fentanyls, and bad actors from entering our country, and one can be for welcoming future Americans in through the front door. Judge Samaniego, can you discuss how El Paso has balanced these two competing dynamics, ensuring the safety of its citizens while also being compassionate toward migrants?
Thank you. One of the things that we recognized is our collaboration. We're not reacting at this point. We've been working 4 years. Almost every Friday we meet with law enforcement, we meet with Border Patrol, the diocese, the NGOs, and we know that by doing what we do right, the whole nation benefits from that. If we do not process the migrants properly, then it falls on other cities. I think El Paso is extremely focused on the fact that we're not a community, but a part of a nation. And if we do not do the right things, then New York gets hit and other communities get hit simply by the fact that there's an unorganized process. Our strategy is really very organized, very compassionate, and making sure that we get individuals in the right place at the right time. And so when we have someone like from New York that comes to El Paso, the mayor, to tell us to help him through this process, obviously, that's why we're there. Our impact is not just on our community. Our impact, I believe, it's on the values of our Constitution, the values, in my case, as a Democrat, and we make sure that we're helping the rest of the country. We don't do things right, and I can guarantee you that the impact is going to fall on the other cities around the country.
Thank you. We keep hearing from our Republican colleagues that the border is open and that Biden caused this crisis. Could you comment on this?
Well, we don't see that. We process every individual that comes through. We make sure we coordinate. We get a lot of information. And I must emphasize, it was the Border Patrol and the federal government that asked us to step up as a community. And when we don't do the right things, it backs up their system. They start getting more and more people. The detention centers are extremely limited compared to what a community can do. So either you put the pressure on the federal government, or you put the pressure on a community that has, almost 14 sites where we could get people sheltered. We can process people. Like I said, 35 to 40% are individuals that already have a sponsor, they have money, and they can move into the communities and other communities. We get a lot of calls of a lot of states and cities throughout the country that want migrants. And if we do the right thing and we process them, then we could get the migrants to them as well as to help our community. And we talk about three things. It's safety, which is extremely important for our community, humanitarianism, and the economy. We do not do things right, and I can guarantee you it impacts the entire economy. We've seen it when things begin strained and the movement of product doesn't come into the country. We get hit extremely hard. We get a lot of calls about not moving traffic properly. And we're one of the largest movers of products in the whole country. So we do things right, and I feel that everybody gains from our efforts.
Thank you. One of the topics you touched on in your testimony is the need for all levels of government and nonprofits to work together to effectively process the migrants who are crossing the border. Do you have a good relationship with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Protection? And can you discuss how often you coordinate with them?
Every once a month we help. Well, one of the missing elements is that we don't get support from the state. And if we had the three, you need the local government, you need the federal government, and the missing component, and because of political reasons, we don't get that third part of the stool. And that is extremely, extremely important to us. We need their support. We don't need militia. We don't need policing. Our strategy has been extremely effective without using law enforcement, and we suffer tremendously by not having the proper support from the state government.
Thank you. My time has expired. I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
Recognize myself in opposition to the amendment. This amendment is not right because it says that this Congress disfavors the enactment of red flag laws, and yet this Congress, although this committee has reported out a red flag bill to the floor, the Congress has not yet voted, the House has not yet voted on it, and it's not ripe. The House will probably vote on it next week, at which point this amendment would be ripe. So I oppose this amendment.
Mr. Chairman, will the chairman yield?
Will the chairman yield?
Mr. Chairman, I believe in the amendment, it says in the states that the sense of Congress is that the Congress would disfavor the enactment of laws known as red flag laws in the states where they do currently exist. Does that alter the chairman's view of ripeness? Yield back to the chairman.
Well, I would oppose that. That's up to the states. It's not up to Congress to tell the states what to do in state law. That's even worse.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I believe the chairman has a different view of that when it comes to voting rights and a number of other matters. So I think when it comes to vindicating constitutional rights, we might have
reclaiming my time.
something to say.
Protection of constitutional rights is a federal concern.
The Second Amendment is a constitutional right. So is due process.
Yep, they are. Who else seeks recognition?
Ms. McBath?
Is there somebody on this? Yes. Mr. Bishop?
Does Mr. Bishop seek, for what purpose?
Representative Jerry Nadler, Democrat, New York, a seasoned and influential figure in Congress, has announced that he will not seek re-election in 2026, marking the end of an era in American politics. Over the years, Nadler has had a remarkable career, with several pivotal moments that have shaped both his legacy and the broader political landscape. Known for his strong stance on civil liberties, Nadler has been a leading voice on issues such as protecting privacy rights and advocating for constitutional freedoms. His advocacy for the Second Amendment, particularly in defense of gun ownership rights, was a hallmark of his political philosophy. Nadler also championed legislation to strengthen voting rights, aiming to ensure that the democratic process remained free and fair for all Americans. Throughout his tenure, Nadler faced contentious debates and challenges from across the aisle, especially on topics like healthcare reform and social justice. He consistently pushed for reforms that sought to protect vulnerable populations, combat systemic inequalities, and promote a more inclusive society. Despite facing opposition, Nadler's commitment to progressive values remained steadfast. In addition to his legislative work, Nadler's role as a senior member of the Judiciary Committee allowed him to influence key legal decisions that had a lasting impact on the country. One of his most notable contributions came during the impeachment hearings of former President Donald Trump, where Nadler played a central role in the proceedings. His leadership during this period showcased his ability to navigate complex political situations with clarity and conviction. As he reflects on his distinguished career, Nadler's decision to retire in 2026 signifies the closing of a significant chapter in New York's political history. His legacy will be remembered for his unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and the protection of democratic values. While he prepares to step down, his influence in shaping the future of American politics remains undeniable.